Vasudevaya. Haribol. So, being in the time that we live, I think everybody has heard of the word avatar, right? And the way it is used in modern world with social media and gaming, everybody's got their avatar, right? Which means basically a kind of like a fake identity or a wannabe kind of identity, a pretend identity. But this is not actually the right meaning of the word. The word avatar means one who descends. And this speaks to the transcendental personalities that descend to this world for the upliftment of mankind, not just mankind, all living beings. The Vedas are filled with amazing descriptions about different avatars. Some people use the term incarnation, like an incarnation of God. But actually the word incarnation is not the best word. Which means literally, from its origin, to take flesh, carne, to become embodied, to take flesh. And that sort of implies that ultimately the highest spiritual reality is without any form of body, is just a large ocean of spiritual energy and light, but then acquires a form in order to do good in the world. And this idea is held and promoted by a lot of different schools of even Vedic teaching and yogic teaching. But it's not the actual understanding that is taught within the Vedas. And so the Vedas were filled with predictions about a transcendental personality who would appear during this time, this age that we live in. It's called the Kali Yuga. The Vedas talked about time in the most extraordinary way. They talk about like 4 main cycles of time that the material creation or world moves through. And these 4 cycles cover 4.3 billion years. And there are multiple such cycles talked of. They spoke about things in an extraordinary way. Their understanding of the makeup of the universe, they had calculations from the distance from the Earth to the Sun and all of the major planets. And it's kind of like, and it's so close to modern calculations, it's not even funny. It's just like, it's amazing. So there was this prediction made thousands of years ago within multiple parts of the Vedas that during this time, this era, there would be an extraordinary personality who is considered an incarnation an avatar who would appear in the world for the purpose of introducing what is called the Yuga Dharma. Yuga Dharma means the transcendental or spiritual process for this particular age in which we live, to make it so that people could rise above the mundaneness and unhappiness of material existence and become actually liberated. And the descriptions in the Vedas are that this personality, whom we refer to as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is that personality. His appearance in India, in the western or eastern part of India rather, was 534 years ago. And his appearance was quite extraordinary. He had the most beautiful and extraordinary appearance. He was exceedingly tall. His complexion was said to be like molten gold, very golden color. And he displayed extraordinary pastimes. When he was young, as like an infant, he constantly cried unless all the women in the neighborhood, who were always, fawning over him because he was so sweet and so beautiful child, that they would all gather together and chant. And if everybody chanted, he would just laugh and was happy. And as soon as everybody stopped chanting, he would just cry, just bring the house down. And so there was just this constant, every day and into the night, people in their place chanting. So it was kind of like a foretelling of things to come. He started his schooling at quite a young age and immediately excelled. He had extraordinary intelligence. When he was still a young child, like 9 or 10 years old, he could defeat great scholars in debate and argument. It was just people were actually a little bit scared to be around him because they're worried about their reputations, that they're meant to be, professor of this or a person of extraordinary intelligence. And here's this young child able to defeat them. To the point, there was an amazing, wonderful leela or pastime of him encountering a great Pandit from Kashmir who was called a Digvijay. Dig means the 10 directions. That's north, south, east, west, plus to the northeast, southeast, and then the zenith above and the area below. So these were 10 directions. Digvijaya means one who was absolutely victorious in all directions. This person has built their reputation traveling through India, all the places of learning, and utterly defeating great scholars in debate. And the tradition was, if I defeated you, then you become my disciple and you give me wealth, and my students and disciples all become yours also. And you write this patra, this letter of acknowledgement of your defeat. And this great Digvijay came to Navadvip, which was considered the center of learning at this time. And he had a casual encounter with at that time, Chaitanya was known as Nimai Pandit. Pandit means like a teacher, a learned person. And he was enticed to recite impromptu Sanskrit poetry. And I mean, it takes about 15 years to actually master Sanskrit grammar, or at least be proficient in being able to speak. It's such like it's highly, the word Sanskrit means highly polished. So it's like it's an incredible language. And to be able to contemporaneously just make up poetry and follow all of the rules was like amazing. And he was induced to compose poetry in praise of the Ganga, the Ganges River, which he did. And then Nimai Pandit began to query him, on the 23rd verse you said, and then he repeated what he had just said. And the guy was like shocked. How could you remember what I said, memorize it? He said, you use this form of the pronoun, which previously you had used this other form, and it's incompatible to do that. Could you explain to us why you did that? There's probably some good reason. And the guy was just like mind-blowing. And then before he could even gather himself, 3, 4, 5 different questions were put to him of a highly technical nature, and he just couldn't answer anything. And there was a great revelation that he had in his meditation, not being able to sleep that night, that this person that he encountered was not a mundane or even highly intelligent material personality, that this was a great transcendental personality. And so he came and bowed before him with great humility and offered himself in the service of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who at that time was only about 14. He already had his own school and was considered the greatest scholar in the whole of Navadvip, in the area, at such an early age. But a great transformation occurred where he now began to display his actual mission by teaching about the importance of this form of meditation, of this chanting. It was a commonly held idea, 2 things that were commonly held ideas. One was that the ultimate manifestation of God or the highest truth is fundamentally impersonal. It is Brahman. And he taught that that is not a proper understanding. And by using the Vedas and explaining the Vedas, he taught that there were 3 aspects or way of understanding God or the highest truth. There is that impersonal aspect, which is a vast ocean of light. There is an all-pervading aspect, who is the Lord that sits within the heart of all living beings, is your constant companion and friend. And Bhagavan, the feature of a personality of Godhead who resides in a spiritual dimension. The other thing was that it was commonly held idea that meditation was a silent and solitary practice, that it was done alone. And he taught that, during this time and this age, that this is not practical for people to try and do. And the greatest form of meditation was to engage in these group meditations and then individual meditation using mantra, using spiritual sound, and particularly what's called nama, Shri Nama, which means the divine names or the holy names of the Lord. When he was only 24 years of age, he took sannyas, which means he took to this renounced order of life. And he was given the name Krishna Chaitanya. The word Chaitanya actually means consciousness, not just like mundane awareness, but the higher principle of actual spiritual consciousness. And so this name was given to him by his sannyas guru. And then he embarked upon this amazing journey through India on foot. And wherever he went, he caused an absolute riot. There were thousands of people that would follow him, even figures in the over 100,000 people sometimes following him at one time. And it was like, you know, it really caught some attention. Some of the one of the Muslim emperors of Bengal at the time started getting suspicious and asking, do I need to be worried about this guy? Because with this many people willing to follow him around, this could be a threat to my regime. And he was assured there's nothing to worry about. He is a humble mendicant. But he in his travels, he encountered some of the most well-known spiritual personalities during this time. And with all of them, he exerted the most extraordinary influence. And people came to recognize him as not being a mundane personality, not like an ordinary person who's become very spiritually advanced, that he had actually descended from a spiritual realm and had this amazing influence. The philosophical qualifications of the yogis and great sannyasis, it was extraordinary. It's not like what goes on today, oh, my truth and your truth and my opinion. These guys were really, really deep. They explored things in the most amazing ways, which was the tradition of the Vedas and all the great yogis. And when he was visiting Benares, he encountered a great sannyasi who was in the lineage of Adi Shankar, of Shankaracharya. And this guy, his name was Prakashananda Saraswati. Saraswati means of the highest order of sannyasis of incredible intelligence. And he himself had over 10,000 sannyasi disciples. You know, he was this gigantic figure. And he, by providence, divine arrangement, he was at an assembly where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was invited. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did this extraordinary thing. He washed his feet in the area where everybody washes their feet, walking outside. And then he sat down in that area. And in India, that's just like, whoa, that's a really dirty place. Your feet are considered highly dirty. And he sat down there because it was this massive gathering. But he was manifesting this amazing spiritual effulgence. And Prakashananda was sitting in the middle of this assembly and noticed him and stood up and went over and asked him to please come into the assembly. Don't sit there with such humility. Up to that point, Prakashananda had actually been highly critical of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this process that he had of this chanting aloud in these kirtans. And he began to question him. And I'm not going to go into any detail because it's just like, it's really deep. But the overall effect was Prakashananda became stunned first with that incredible humility and then the overwhelming beauty and countenance of this person. And then when he induced him to speak, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, from a platform to tremendous humility, began to speak about really profound philosophical things. And it just blew Prakashananda away. And he ended up, along with his thousands of followers, offered their obeisance, respect, bowing before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and accepted him as guru. And so you had these this reformation, this sweeping transformation that occurred all throughout India. And what utterly blew my mind when I was, because he is an extraordinary personality in our lineage, the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Vaishnava Sampradaya. This ancient lineage goes back to practically the beginning of time. And this personality, though, his appearance, I mean, it revolutionized what was going on in India. But when I went to India as a young monk in 1971, it blew my mind that hardly anybody knew about him. And it just showed me the extraordinary effect and influence of this particular age in which we live, called the Kali Yuga, where people just like lose it. You know, we're seeing it now in the world where young people have no actual deep knowledge of history, of where they have come from, where traditions have come from, where proverbial teachings and ancient wisdom, where it's come from. Everything is just like, you know, discarded, and people are just making up stuff left and right, and there's all this emotion and play and everything. And it's just like very characteristic of what I ran into in my early days in India, how somebody could be so influential and then in a relatively short period of time, very little would become known of them. The prophecies, if that's the right word, I kind of don't like that word because it's got sort of bad connotations, but it's actually a far out word. The predictions of the appearance of this personality from ancient teachings, thousands of years old, is just like really, really far out. There are 108 Upanishads. Upanishads are very foundational in all Vedic teaching. And one of them is called the Chaitanya Upanishad. It has nothing to do with him, the fact that it has the same name. But within the Chaitanya Upanishad, there is a verse, Gauraha Sarvatma Mahapurusho Mahatma Mahayogi Tri Gunanitaha Sattva Rupo Bhaktim Loke Kasyati. And it means that this Gaura, who is the all-pervading Paramatma, or Supreme Soul, the personality of Godhead, appears as a great saint and powerful mystic who is above the three modes of material nature, and he is the emblem of transcendental activity. He disseminates the science of devotion throughout the world. And then in other texts you have where they actually name the place that he will appear. It was called Navadvip. Nava means 9, Dvipa means islands. So it's not actually like islands, but they are, the arrangement was like what's called a mandala, like a lotus where there's a central thing and there are 8 petals around it. And this area was called Navadvip. And the mother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, her name was Sachi, or Sachi Devi. So in the Krishna Yamala Tantra, there is a verse that says, I shall appear in the holy land of Navadvip as the son of Sachi. And in the Vayu Purana, in the age of Kali, when the Sankirtan movement is inaugurated, I shall descend as the son of Sachi Devi. And from the Brahma Yamala Tantra, sometimes I personally appear on the surface of the world in the garb of a devotee, Specifically, I appear as the son of Sachi in Kali Yuga to start the Sankirtan movement. Actually, there's a whole bunch here, but I'm not going to go through. But the Bhagavad Purana, or the Srimad Bhagavatam, over 4,500 years before the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it states that in this age of Kali, those who are intelligent will perform this congregational chanting of the names of Hari, and they will worship the Supreme Person, who himself appears in this age, always chanting the glories of the Lord. This incarnation is yellowish or golden in hue, and is always associated with his plenary expansions and personal expansions, as well as those devoted to him and his eternal associates. So, anyway, the Mahabharata, which is so well known, it's the great spiritual epic of India. There's a verse there that states that the Lord appears and has a golden complexion. Indeed, his entire body, which is very nicely constituted, is like molten gold. Sandalwood pulp is smeared all over his body, and he will take the fourth order of spiritual life, sannyas, and he will be very self-controlled. He will be distinguished from the Mayavadi sannyasis in that he will be fixed in bhakti, or devotional service to the Lord, and he will spread this Sankirtan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even though he was a great scholar, just amazing, and he gathered about himself some of the most intelligent and extraordinary personalities of his time, and hearing about them is just really wonderful. And he had them undertake a massive compilation of devotional literature that's unparalleled in the world, like a vast library of deep and highly philosophical and beautiful transcendental literature. But he himself only left behind 8 written prayers called Shastaka. Asta means Ashta is 8, and Siksha is to teach or teachings. And in these 8 teachings, he glorified this spiritual process of kirtan. And the reason why it is becoming so widespread in the world, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, hardly anybody had heard of kirtan. Now it's becoming, so well known. It's because of his influence and his teachings that it is spreading. And he describes that how there was a particular powerful spiritual potency attached to people coming together and congregationally engaging in this meditation process. There was a unique spiritual potency. And in the first of these 8 prayers, he states, all glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan. And now he lists certain qualities which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. So there was this understanding that material life is not desirable. Doesn't matter how good it gets for you in one particular lifetime. Don't hang out there. Because every time you roll the dice, and you leave your body deeply immersed in attachments to this world and desiring honor and fame and material experience, you are guaranteed of repeated birth. And with repeated birth comes repeated death. And the journey in between, no matter how hard we try to make it wonderful, it's actually not that wonderful. It's okay, but it's not that big a deal. And for the majority of people on this planet, it's horrible. We live in a highly privileged society in New Zealand. This is incredibly good karma to have been born here or to be living here. This is easy street. For most of the world, you cannot even begin to comprehend what it's like to live in the squalor and the difficulty and face tremendous poverty and lack of food and trying to raise children in these environments that are unsanitary and horrible, and there's the fierce competition for limited resources. There's danger lurking everywhere. There's rampant disease. Take a look. Get out there. Anybody that's sort of traveled and got off away from the tourist traps and everything, and see how people actually live and what they have to struggle with. It ain't that cool. And it's not really going to get a hell of a lot better for many people. And so it was described that whether you had a good situation or a bad situation, everybody, it's like they're caught in this forest fire. There is this burning need for shelter, for peace, for happiness, and everybody is just consuming and trying different things to fill up that emptiness and find that perfection. And it's just not happening. But through this process of chanting, one has the opportunity to completely transcend all these experiences. It removes the conditioning that we have developed over lifetimes of material consciousness and material thinking. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge, and it increases the ocean of transcendental blissfulness, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. So there is this identification. People are anxious for this sweetness and this happiness. I mean, this is the fundamental principle of advertising, the recognition that everybody is empty. Doesn't matter what you got and what you got going on. There is a recognition, a hardcore recognition in the advertising industry. Everybody is empty. And what you need to do is associate a product with a promise that if you consume this product, you have this experience, you will become happy. That's what advertising is. That's really what it's all about. And they talk about it, and they discuss the psychology of manipulating and reaching this emptiness of everybody. So there is this anxiousness, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talked about it. There is this anxiousness, and we want to find this happiness, this peace, the happily ever after. Wonderful ending to all those kids' stories and the love stories, and they lived happily ever after. We want that, we desire it, because it's actually a spiritual condition. But it is only going to be through this process that one can come to that condition. Then in his second prayer, which I'll finish up with, he states, addressing God in a deeply personal way, with a heart filled with devotion. He goes, "O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to the living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of these transcendental names. In these transcendental names you have invested all transcendental energies or potencies. And there is not even a hard and fast rule for chanting these names." So we have a whole history within the Vedic system. The majority of people that adhered to the Vedic system were not transcendentalists. They desired to experience the benefits in this lifetime and succeeding lifetimes of material enjoyment and pleasure. And so there were so many mantras and everything that were done for, that needed to be chanted. And when mantra was to be chanted, there had to be a consideration of the qualification of the person. What is your adhikar? What is your training? What is your level of purity? What is your level of understanding before you could do it? But here we have a revolutionary idea that it doesn't matter who you are, whether you've got training or no training, you can be the most lowest person, the most degraded individual, and be in the most horrible state and condition. And yet, if you take this name, even without any qualification, you can become transcendently purified and come to experience the highest transcendental happiness. And so there are no hard and fast rules. There's some guidance, but no hard and fast rules. And then he says, in tremendous humility, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you through these transcendental names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. But then he advises that one should chant these holy names in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself to be lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a humble state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So, went overtime there, and we haven't even got started. It was hopefully just a little glimpse into this personality that is transforming the world through this kirtan movement. You watch what happens over the next 300-400 years. There's already clear statements about what is going to happen, the way in which it will transform people during this period of time. So, because of my connection to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I have a profound admiration and sense of incredible thankfulness to be able to have embarked on this journey and to have received the grace and spiritual blessings that I have, and the transformations and the vision to see things with much more clarity. And so being asked to speak about him tonight, I feel greatly blessed and very, very fortunate. And invite you to chant with me and engage in this process. I mean, the chanting tonight was very nice, yeah? It's wonderful. It's kind of like you walk in and if you let yourself go, check everything at the door. Just show up, naked and not afraid. I mean, get rid of all the garbage, just show up And in an openness, it's like you immerse yourself in this spiritual sound. And in doing it, your life will become transformed. You know, be patient. It is a gradual process. There's a lot of stuff to get rid of, a lot of conditioning to unload. But I promise you all the most wonderful outcomes. Okay, we good with that? So I will start with Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. And we'll see what happens. We'll probably end up doing the Maha Mantra.
Hari Hare